those duties. I keep going up to.
Hey, how you doing?
Good, Mike. How are you?
Good, doing good.
How you doing this winter?
I'm not handling this well.
Isn't it terrible?
I was down in Kentucky over Christmas, and it was down to 0 down there. Yeah, that was unbelievable. At least I could go down there and get some nice weather. Didn't happen.
And all the way to Florida. And down south of Illinois, they're not prepared for it.
No, they get an inch of snow, and it's, they're.
I was stationed at Fort Bliss in Texas, and I got my car down there. They had 1 inch snowfall, paralyzed the city. There was 3 of us, 7 cars down there from up north here.
Yeah.
We were the only ones on the road.
Yeah, exactly. Well, we know where they come from, right?
Exactly. Yeah, this weather's been something
Well,
else.
here's my thinking. I've been snow plowing a lot of years of my life and working outside, but there's only so much cold and there's only so much heat. So if you get a lot of cold, you're going to balance out later on.
It's the same way with the drought we had a few years ago. Just evens itself out.
Exactly. Nature just does that.
It's cyclical.
Yeah.
It comes and goes. The only thing that doesn't come back is my hair.
I hear you. I hear you. Yeah. Yeah, but what do you think? We can land a man on the moon. We can do all these things. And they can't figure out how to keep hair on a man's head. What's going on?
I just went to the dermatologist and had something on the top of my head. I said, wait a minute now. He said, what? I said, you're not taking any hair, are you?
No, so far so good, yeah.
Hello, Mike. How are you?
Bob, how are you?
Okay.
Hey,
Good.
how are you?
Good, yourself?
Hey, Mike.
Surviving the cold?
The cold. This is like summer.
Well, it's going to get back. We're looking at more.
Yeah, I know, but it's only time.
It's nice.
It'll
Just
go
wanted to
away.
say hi to you.
Yeah, it's not.
Make sure you sign that.
Is yours going on?
So far, I'll let you know.
Okay. You want to do yours?
You don't think it'll work?
No.
Oh.
When was the
Because
last
we're
time
at
you
home.
turned it on? We'll see if the Windows update, it's probably the Windows, it's gonna force you to update.
I think, huh?
Windows 10 will force the update.
Were you able to get on there? I'm clicking on Township right now. So
Is it?
we'll see.
Yeah. And I don't want it like in the middle of the meeting to force that update either.
All right.
Is yours okay?
Ready for the fun? Ready for the fun? I guess. It looks like I'm on. Tell me what you think.
I think you look like you're on too. Hopefully now, when it's in the middle of the meeting, it starts to think.
Why would it do that?
Because Outlook 10 is looking to force the update. It doesn't give you an option to not update. That has to do with Windows 10.
Okay, so what do you have to do?
Wait, you tend to open yours on a regular basis, right?
Well, I tried to.
Yeah, so then if you're doing that, it's doing it automatically. If you're not doing it, then it just forces the update when you do open it. And that's probably what happened last week. All of them were trying to update
Last month.
whatever it was. Yep.
You can download the file on the desktop.
Right, and then you could just click on it and you don't have to worry about connecting to the internet.
Yeah, that's what I had to do. What?
That's what you do?
Yeah.
Perfect. So you could take the file from your,
Mail.
your mail, and you can download it, put it on your desktop, and you don't have to
How do I
even.
do that?
How do you do that? I'll show you. His is working. He's trying to get on his now. Stan, I'm just saying, Stan here,
Yeah.
he's the one that uses this all the time, and he downloads it onto his desktop.
I know.
Steve is from XCal, just so you guys know.
But as long as you're here.
He probably did. All right, so this is meeting.
Now, it asked me to change my password. And I do. Sometimes I have to use the old one for the new one to get in.
Well, that's about it.
Can you come into the township offices very often?
There it is.
Or actually, even at home, let me just see, now it says I gotta start over here. Let me just see here.
Okay, so here, when you click on this, it says download.
When you, for example, when you change a password, for the computer that's on it, it has to come in. It has to come into the network. It's just how.
It's downloading. Alright, so it's finished. I'll show you. You save as. Go to your desktop. Click save.
Did you read this packet before we did?
At home I got it.
Close it. Close that.
It was last week, a month when we were here.
I'm gonna get off your internet.
So we pushed it up there.
It seemed like when I got here, it was updated. I don't know what happened there.
So there's like all the other
I thought I did, but I didn't. But see, now you just have it right
there's
there.
a piece of maintenance software that runs on it.
And you don't even have to worry about the network.
When you come into the network,
See, I got the.
the maintenance. The idea is behind the maintenance software is that you're gonna leave to run almost
We saved it, we did save it.
every day.
Or you,
Well, what I'm doing is I'm not turning it all the way on.
take it, drag it.
Yeah, you could do that too. I did say that. Well, see, you could do that.
Dad told me, when I go home, I just get it and put it to sleep. That's what I'm doing.
That's it.
Okay, 'cause then I only go anywhere that much time to, when I get there, at the end of the day. It's a few days, 2 days before the meeting. So,
Now, I guess that might,
It might be your other email. We might have to go to a different email.
no, I think that was just one of the things that happened.
morning, gentlemen.
I don't, Joe told me.
This is
But one thing is, if you're here though,
That's right, you gotta sit there and help out with that.
That's your
no,
personal
I think
email.
I'm okay.
Okay, so
This is,
So we need to get to his other email. So we gotta switch accounts.
so Steve, if I get,
It's not showing it. You got it on your desktop. I didn't. Alright, so now put your password in.
No. No,
And
you
you
gotta,
know what? It's not dated, so I'm
yeah,
not
it's not,
sending nothing.
that's not, no, you gotta pay me $100.
Okay, fine. You're right.
There we go. Alright, so what he's saying you can do is, alright, this is my email. I'm gonna open it up, you always do. And then you can just take this, click on it, left click on it, grab and bring it
Yeah, it can be. And I'll make it even
It's not allowing it, how come?
in the future.
You have to download it first.
They say.
I'll send it to this folder right here. No, it's not here now because I didn't.
Yeah, see it, it's gonna force you to say.
So whatever. To the next month, the same thing.
So just like in the January, I put down the
That one will go to.
far forward to 3/4 of the page or 2/3 of the page.
Okay, buddy, I got one. So like my mail I get here, this is what I got. Go here. Go here to get the report. So I have to go to the
Go back to webman.
It's library, that's what they show it.
here.
Yeah.
Well, I put it somewhere.
Right.
See, that's the problem. They don't tell you. They don't let you put it where you.
Well, that's why people say that, so you don't put it wherever you want.
Okay. I didn't know the difference.
Right, so when you do the say that,
Then it asks you where you want to put it.
where you want
And
to
I would
put
just
it,
put it on the
and
desk.
then that's how it came over to the desktop. And then it's on the Instagram.
No, I did it a different way.
Yeah, you did it.
I don't know a different than save.
Right.
So save as it asks you.
Exactly. Right, so here's your agenda. You have that right here.
You know, we need a teacher. I think it's
I can do it in my office. Because it's downloading PDFs or not. It's not doing it in PDFs.
Oh, I see. Got it.
So if I save it in are they? Okay.
I saw a car out there.
So now this is the PDF file that I'm going to save to the
That's how I did it one way. I dragged
It's not letting me do it.
download it and then drag it to the desktop.
Technically, yes, but I don't think it'll have one.
That's my question.
Where you want me to not really. It was more like, okay, yeah.
Even though I'm doing a file save as a desktop.
Yes, that's true.
Can we scroll down and if I last?
Yeah, see, you can't hear me.
I don't know what you did,
How
but thank
did
you.
you do that?
Hello. That application is the 2 p.m. Make the room.
All right, we're gonna go this way. We're gonna start.
Anybody check the mic to make sure it works tonight?
It does.
We're supposed to be right about now. What would they want because we were out there long before, making sure that they didn't have the opportunity to.
Got it all figured out now. For the phone company, but the thing is, it's Windows.
When she's telling me you can't be completely right.
Well, I used to work on the old one. It's an older version. It's Windows 10. It's just, well, it's different. We had these back in the day. They were so tough. You could take them up and drop them, and they wouldn't break.
It's the order of 7 p.m. Let's do the, call the meeting to order. Let's do the pledge of allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Our first order of business is public comment. I have a long list here. First on the list is Leon Van Avery. If you come forward.
Good evening, everybody. I just want to give you a little background on my own tax bill. My taxes per year are roughly somewhere between $5,000 and $6,000. Out of that $5,000 to $6,000 combined to the township for both accounts, I spend $208. That's not much out of that tax bill. There's roughly 25,000 taxable properties in Mchenry Township. Taking that into consideration, I'm paying somewhere between $3.50 and $4 towards Mr. Condon's salary. I think that's quite a buy. For that $208, I don't have to worry about my roads being taken care of. I can make a phone call and say, Jim, there's a heck of a pothole out here on Ridge Road. And I can just guarantee that within a half hour, somebody's out there taking care of that. I can call and tell them up on Pleasantview, up in the Highlands, there's a branch covering a stop sign. There's a school bus that goes through that intersection twice a day. That branch will be down in a half an hour. I know who to call. I know who's going to take care of that stuff. I think it's an absolute shame that we're even considering doing away with the highway commissioner and the road district. When I was highway commissioner, my first year, I fought for a raise for the guys. At that time, dump truck with a snow plow and all the attachments for the winter work, it's about $110,000 complete. My argument to them at that time, that board, I said, you know what? I want to give these guys a wage that's a living wage. I don't want that guy in that dump truck thinking about, I got a part-time job I got to get to because I got to feed my family. I want his attention on what he's doing. If he hits somebody, there's going to be a hell of a lawsuit. And by giving him a living wage, that's going to negate that. His mind is going to be on that job. He's got pride in what he's doing. I don't know what the board is thinking, or anybody else is thinking. If they think they can privatize something like this, that's a bunch of hogwash. These guys that work for the township are out there Christmas Eve, Thanksgiving, Easter Sunday, and they're making the roads safe for all of us to get where we want to go. You get a private company in there, they're going to be paying, on Easter Sunday, they're going to be paying triple time. You think that's going to save us any money? That's a bunch of bullshit. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Van Avery. Next, I have Len Keel. Right here.
Just a few comments about last month's meeting. Trustee Mchenry commented that he wasn't crazy about Johnsburg buying the golf course because the township and the county would lose money. Well, that's true in all cases. If you protest your taxes, somebody else has to pick up the slack. So not just Johnsburg buying it, per se. Also, Commissioner or Supervisor Adams commented about the tax bill for the township, big or small. It is, compared to the other bills, it is. But it's $4 more than I pay from Johnsburg. I'm paying $4.19 to the township and $4.14 to the village. Question for Commissioner Condon. When the townships have anything, do they have any input into how the county spends the money, the chip station money?
Does the township have any?
Are they asked about anything that should be done?
We routinely work with the county on a lot of issues.
The reason I asked, they're going to spend $41 million at Randall Road again. 19 from the county and 21 from the feds or whatever else. It took 2 years to do 176. Randall Road is going to be absolute chaos. Absolute chaos. And again, Supervisor Adams, I'd like to thank you and your staff for getting the Vietnam Wall Memorial here. Anybody who hasn't visited that wall should take advantage of what's coming in May. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Keel. I have Jim Condon signed up next for public comment.
Hello, as most of you know, my name is Jim Condon and I'm the Mchenry Township Highway Commissioner. I wanted to take a minute and express my sincere concern regarding the proposed action up for discussion tonight. That being the putting on a referendum on the November ballot to eliminate the road district. You state this will save tax dollars, and let's all face it, we all agree real estate taxes are too high. However, what I don't agree with is not addressing the real problems that exist, and instead attacking what many of you consider the low-hanging fruit for the simple purpose of political opportunism. Yes, the road district may appear to operate out of the public eye, and many people don't know the work that we do. That is an issue, and we will continue to work and put our efforts forward to educate the residents and increase any transparency that you believe may exist. Mr. Anderson, you have for 30 years tried to eliminate the township. And getting rid of the road district is just your first step. Let's be honest with one another. That's your goal. Get rid of the road district and then get rid of the township. It's obviously your first step. You know, there's rumors that you're doing this because when you rebuilt your house, the assessor reappraised your house too high, or you were upset because you didn't win the road commissioner election several years ago. Obviously, none of those are good reasons to do the wrong thing. I will tell you, though, that your half-truths and political antics do not serve the residents of Mchenry Township well. To the Northwest Herald, I would say that I'm rather disappointed in the predominantly one-sided coverage that you provided regarding this issue. It almost appears as if you use the paper in reporting to advance your own opinions and not the facts. I have lived here in Mchenry my whole entire life, and obviously spent a lot of time reading the local papers, including the original Mchenry Plain Dealer, which probably dates me a little bit, and I shouldn't have brought that up. But regardless, I see Mr. Hughes over there who read it also. And I have to tell you, I'm rather disappointed in your lack of effort to bring the full story with accurate and complete facts to the public. Yes, you can say you provide both sides of the story, but you can't deny the fact that you put Mr. Anderson's point of view at the front of the article, while at the same time you hide opposing positions like myself or Representative Bright, who's here tonight, at the end of the article. Knowing full well, when people read the article, they usually stop about halfway through and go to the next article. I have to be honest with you, it makes me smile. I think actually Trustee Anderson has gotten more photographic representation from the Herald than the President of the United States, to be quite honest with you. And I also find it interesting how the Herald just seems to show up at the exact moment that Trustee Anderson receives that infamous call from Representative Yingling, so they can take a picture of that phone call and get it in the paper. That was amazing how that works. To Representative McSweeney, who seems to really want to weigh in on this issue by referencing the troubles in Algonquin Township.
Second.
I'm sorry? Well, Representative McSweeney, I think somebody should point out to you that you endorsed the road commissioner for Algonquin Township, who's now creating the big circus. One has to wonder if this is not just a setup so you can claim doing something, since nothing seems to be getting done in Springfield. To County Board Chairman Franks, who thinks it's important to consider eliminating townships without the facts, and claims to have lowered the levy and be the forefront of lowering the levy, I'd remind Chairman Franks that you didn't start the train rolling, reducing the levy. It was local small governments like Mchenry Township Road District who kept our levy flat for over 5 and correct me, maybe even 6 years before we lowered it a year ahead of the county by 10%. You may be on the train, but you joined the train after the train started rolling as a result of small local government. But mostly, I want to talk directly to Trustee Rackstraw and Wojcicki. We're saying if I screwed your last name up, I do apologize. Mike, I've known you for many years because of an organization we both belonged to a long time ago, and I was amazed at the time that you contributed to that organization. I believed you'd be a good person. Thus, When the two of you became trustees, I thought you would really take an interest in being a trustee, and not just follow the lead of a political opportunist. I believed you would try to understand what the road district does, bring your concerns to me regarding the road district, and hopefully work toward the solutions to resolve these concerns. As you recall, I invited both of you several times to do just that. To date, neither of you have taken the time, nor the other two trustees, to come and see me to discuss any concerns with the road district. Neither of you.
Mr. Cannon, please wrap it up, 30 seconds.
Okay, 2 sentences. Mr. Franks or Mr. McSweeney, neither of them have ever been in my office either. This, my friends, is very disappointing. And now to be discussing eliminating the road district without any information is extremely, extremely disappointing. If you wanted to put some time in, if you didn't want to put some time in as a trustee, then you shouldn't run for the office. I'm sorry. I would like to personally thank Senator Eltoff and especially Representative Reich, who actually did take the time to look into this matter and actually have had discussions several times with me regarding this matter. Thank you for your time.
Thank you, Mr. Cannon. I now have a John, I can't read it, Grilo? G-R-O? Okay.
I am speaking in favor of the elimination of the township district, road district. As a Mchenry resident since 1972, I have reason to contact the road commissioner numerous times. Due to the responses I received from the road commissioner during that period of time, I believe it would have been helpful to pass on my concerns to a township trustee to get further consideration of my concerns. In most instances, my concerns were hastily dismissed by the road commissioner with very little consideration at the time. There's a sharp turn in the township road servicing our home. Quite frequently, drivers unfamiliar with the road will enter the turn too fast and will leave the road, enter our property, damaging our picket fence and sometimes hitting a tree. The township road district had installed highly visible signs indicating the turn as you were exiting the area, but not when you entered the area. The road commissioner denied the need for the turn warning signs on entering the area, saying they were only necessary when leaving the area because a vehicle not negotiating the turn might hit a house 50 feet or more from the road. Again, after giving my request further consideration at a much later date and using a little common sense, highly visible signs indicating the turn as you enter the area were installed. At the last township meeting, the supervisor making a point that he would do
Just back up.
At the last township meeting, the supervisor making a point that he would do all the hiring for the road maintenance indicated that he would have to hire a professional engineer to oversee the road township program. Having lived in our home for 45 years, I don't think former road commissioners Clarence Regner, John Regner, Joseph Ajursic, or Leon Van Every were professional engineers. It only so happened that Mr. Conlon, advancing through the township ranks, was a professional engineer. The past road commissioners did not have to hire a professional engineer to run the road program on a daily basis. To summarize, I support the elimination of the road district in order to have a group of my representatives consider my concerns rather than only the road commissioner who has in the past and currently makes what may be professional decisions, but without common sense. For instance, the trimming of the tree leaves 40 or 50 feet high above a road to expose the road to the sun, without taking into consideration the trees on the south side of the road will block the sun from the road except for maybe 20 or 40 minutes as the sun is setting in the west. For my first 40 years with Mchenry Township, the road, limbs overhanging the road needed only be trimmed so as not to engage the flashing light on the top of a snowplow. I do not understand why the Township Road District needs a high-lift bucket truck with a crew of 4 or more men to trim trees. Thank you for your time.
Thank you. I have a town news next.
Thank you. All you gentlemen, everyone here was elected to serve the people, not yourselves and your self-serving vendettas or, vindictiveness or whatever. You need to serve the people. And Van Every did a great job. Is he as good as Van Every? Everybody's it's a growing, hopefully he does get better. Hope he does answer his phone. I've had that problem too. And come back. But we've had this same issue come up, not just here, but we've heard it in Wonder Lake, getting rid of that township. And this seems to be an ongoing plague. Guys, you're here to serve the public, not, go out and send it out to big corporations or businesses. We have a system has worked before your time and before my time. We need to represent you people here to do the job for all of us. We're the payers. You guys are elected here to do our job. Either do your job or get out. Let somebody else sit in that seat and do the right thing for the people, not for your vendettas. And yes, we all need to get better, all of us. So let's stop the bickering and wasting time and money and going on all this ridiculous stuff. Really, who's going to come and take care of the roads? The bucket truck. Who do you think changes the light in the lights for the corners and curbs and everything else? These are needed tools to do the job and do it right and efficient. And having 4 guys on there, safety's everything. We know how people texting, run over people, accidents happen. Hey, that's the right amount of men. And let the guy do his job. Thank you.
We're getting feedback, and I can't get it, so we'll just turn it off. You can talk about it. All right. I have a jury condom next on the agenda.
Good evening. My name is Jerry Condon, and yes, I am the wife of Jim Condon. I point that out because this is personal to me. Shortly after Mr. Anderson was elected to trustee, he mail-aligned my son, Colin Condon, who was an employee one summer cutting grass and doing some of the less fun jobs of the township. He did it willingly. He was trying to make money to go away to college for the first time. Mr. Anderson, without having correct facts, said that he was asleep on a tractor. That wasn't true. I came to this board shortly after that and stated the facts and about all the accolades my son has done and to go to his character and the fact that it was later found out that it was another employee that had done that. And I asked Mr. Anderson to apologize to my son and to my family, and he refused to do that. So yes, this is personal. When an 18-year-old, I think he was 18, I don't know how old he was, maybe 17, and he's trying to make fun of and trying to mail-align my teenage son because he doesn't like my husband, that's ridiculous. Now, so he threw that out. Oh yeah, your son is irresponsible. Threw that out to see if that would catch on anything. Well, I called him out on it and found out he was wrong. Now he's throwing out, let's get rid of the road district. See if that'll catch on anything. Without doing any facts. And I tell you that without looking into the facts because, as my husband said earlier, he's never come down to sit in my husband's office and learn about the road district. He doesn't know about it. He might not like townships, he might not like road districts, but does he know what goes on? No, he does not. Representative Reich is trying to put forth a bill where we would find out if there really would be a cost savings. Okay, if there's a cost savings, let's look into that. Good. But if there's not, why would you eliminate it? When you have a professional here who is doing good work. Representative Hingling put out correspondence to Mr. Anderson saying that there was double layers of government. Oh my gosh, double layers of government? He's a representative. Does he not know that there is not overlap? Everyone has their own jurisdictions. They don't overlap. As Township Road District, he doesn't take care of county roads or city roads or state roads. He does township roads. There's no overlap, people. And I, for one, don't want our road district eliminated and put under township trustees' jurisdiction and authority who have no knowledge on roads, especially not a barber who just throws out inaccurate facts. Thank you.
We have a Bobby Brady.
Good evening. I just want to introduce myself briefly. My name's Bobby Bainey, and I sit on multiple boards within this county, including the McHenry County College Foundation, the City of McHenry Economic Development Commission, which I chair, the McHenry County Workforce Network Board. I sit on the Senior Volunteer Care Network Board as well. My point in saying that is that I understand how effective boards work. And Mr. Anderson, I have a question for you. Is it not your job to look at the budget that the road commissioner would put forth for the year, to review it and approve it?
It's not my job to get involved with public comment.
So okay, perfect. I think everybody understands that if you sit on this board, it is in fact your job to review an annual budget and to approve it. It is also your job to review monthly invoices and bills that are paid and checks that are on a ledger and review and approve those as well, in addition to levies and other things that happen. So unless you're not doing your job, you have absolute and utter ability to see what Mr. Condon is doing with full transparency, unlike the comments that I've read that you have made in the Herald about how there's absolutely nobody to oversee the road commissioner. That is an absolutely false statement. I know this because I work with very highly effective boards. I wish I could say that our township board was operating under that same set of standards. I would also, I am so glad that Mr. Reich is here tonight because I'd like to personally thank you for doing what I think any reasonable citizen or politician would do, and that is educating voters to have facts. So when we go to the polls, we are able to make intelligent decisions. We're not taking the assumption of a barber as to what the bottom line is going to be when a massive change that's going to affect our taxes, maybe in a very negative way, quite possibly in a positive way, but nobody in this room knows that at this point. Yet they want to take it to a poll for us to vote on it with zero facts. Any intelligent human being that votes understands that that is irresponsible and unacceptable for somebody that was elected in a position to represent the people of this township and of this community. And I'm disgusted by that behavior, and I know that on the boards that I sit on, we would have removed you by now for not being there.
We have a John Mercurio next on the list.
Good evening. Thank you. I'm John Mercurio. I've lived in Mchenry since 1995. I've got 3 quick points. A couple of them are going to echo some of the things that we've already heard, but I think it's very important that we hear these things. I'm a big believer that we should always scrutinize spending. It's always the responsible thing to do. So I took a look at my property taxes, and let's be sure, we're very fortunate, aren't we, to pay District 15 and District 156, 71.6% of our property tax. That might be where we want to take a look, because it's only 2.4% that goes to the road district. 2.4%. We heard a little bit earlier about the Northwest Herald. I'd like to thank the Northwest Herald for putting this quote in an article from January 7th. When Mr. Anderson said that the road district, people don't realize how much spending power the road commissioner has and how little oversight there is. But if you take a look at the website for the township, it says the trustees' duties include monthly auditing of bills, budget preparation, adoption of the road district and township budget, approval of ordinances and contracts, and policy making for the township. Something there seems to be wrong. It either is or it isn't. And my last point is, I think it's a good idea to get the public involved when the public knows what's going on. There's no study anywhere that says that by abolishing the road district, we're going to save any money. But we're thinking about putting this on a public referendum to a group of voters that have no information about this. That is completely irresponsible. Thank you.
Thank you, and last I have Georgiana Gigi Fosco.
I live in Wonder Lake, Mchenry Township district, and I'd like to ask Mr. Anderson, how much are we going to save for eliminating the township, for the quality, for the services that we give? How much are we going to save?
It's not my job to be here to get a debate with public comment. Public comment is public comment.
Well, you're voting on a referendum here that you're telling the people out here and all over our township that we're going to save money. This is your job. If you want to do this vote, you want to get it on there, you want to get a referendum on there, it's your job to tell us. Tell us. You're on a school board in Wonder Lake. I live in Wonder Lake. More than half of my taxes just go for the one grade school that we have in Wonder Lake. Why don't you try to get them to consolidate and save us taxes? You're on a school board, why don't you do that?
His pension.
He does.
He does.
Yeah,
What does he do? What does he do on the school board? Is he trying to consolidate our one school district? Does he try to consolidate our one school district into District 15 and District 156 and make it all one, like on the west side of Wonder Lake where they're in District 200? And they only have one district there? More than half of my taxes go to that one grade school, not even the high school, but the grade school. What are you doing there to save money for our people? Nothing. Nothing. You just sit there. Okay? That's all you do. In Cunningham, you're in the township. You're getting new roads. Who's gonna take care of your road when you want to eliminate the township? Who's gonna take care of it?
The township.
How?
They have contracts.
How? Then tell me how they're gonna take care of it.
He doesn't know yet.
No, but you want to eliminate something that you don't know who's gonna help, how they're gonna help us get our quality of services, how much it's gonna save us. You want to put this on a referendum, and like you said, no one knows how much it's gonna save us. No one. You two guys sit there saying, okay, put it on the referendum, it's gonna save us money. How much money? No one knows. Don't you think we should at least wait? I mean, you don't have to vote on this tonight. You can wait till a few more months and give us some answers. If you want this on the referendum, you're representing the people of Mchenry Township, why don't you help us? Huh? Why don't you show us what we're gonna save? Then maybe it'll be a fair vote. You just think, oh, we eliminate it, we're gonna have it. Our roads are out there, they're out there now in the township, salting our roads. What are you doing? Nothing. and you wanna,
Okay, you have to wrap it up, Judy.
okay. So what are you gonna do? Just sit there and vote this in and don't tell us nothing? It's your responsibility for us to tell us how much we're gonna save, if you wanna vote this in.
Could you add me to the list, please?
I was just gonna ask, is there anybody else that would like, please come out? And is there anybody else that would like to be added to the list? Can you please come up here and put your name up? I'll bring it back. Please state your name.
I apologize, you'd already taken the list when I got through it. My name is Robert Beltran. I live at 2814 Regular Road in Mchenry. I'm here to speak to the same thing everyone else is. On this agenda, we have a resolution that's been proposed by Bob Anderson to eliminate the highway commissioner's position, to do a referendum to that effect. The duties of the commissioner, according to Mr. Anderson, will be assumed by the board itself. The stated rationale is that the highway commissioner's budget gets insufficient review and oversight, and his salary can be saved. Well, I'm also president of the East Muskogee Bay Road Association. I'm a founding member of the Non-Dedicated Roads Coalition. I don't pretend to speak for everybody in the Roads Coalition. I do speak for my association. And on their behalf, I am resolutely opposed to such an action. There is no way the board is capable of doing that job itself. It's unqualified. Meeting once a month, the board couldn't possibly be responsive to the County Department of Transportation, to the needs of the citizenry, and to all the technical and professional work that needs to be done in that position. It's a full-time job. The board would end up hiring some lowest bidder contractor, or maybe a trustee's relative, I'm not sure, who likely would be also unqualified for the job, and probably get more money for it than Mr. Condon does, with no responsibility for the voters. The highway district budget would no longer be professionally prepared by a public servant with a responsibility to the taxpayers and answerable to the voters. The budget would be prepared by, and by the way, that budget is then, as has been mentioned, then reviewed and approved by the board. Instead, the budget would be prepared by amateurs, our board, or by a contractor with fiduciary responsibility to himself or to his firm, wrapped in the township budget, and would have no external review beyond the same people who already do the review of the professionally prepared and taxpayer responsible, fiduciary responsible professional that we have now. And when, at the end of the day, no specific highway commissioner will be held responsible for errors, omissions, oversights, poor highway maintenance, plowing, or budgetary waste. So I can see no advantage to us, the citizens, in taking this step. And at least we should be taking if we're going to do this, we should be following the recommendation that's already been proposed, but has been opposed by some of the people on the board, that there be an outside review and analysis to see if there would be budgetary saving and efficacy in taking such a step. So, thank you.
I'd like to apologize. I went past the name on the list by accident. Tom Curry, please.
Thank you, Mr. Adams. Good evening. I'd like to say, first of all, body language says a lot. And a couple of you gentlemen don't look very interested in what the people you represent have to say. trustee, I'm curious as to what your plan is. How is this going to affect the taxpayers I represent? Are we going to have to hire gentlemen that I assume work for the township now to take care of roads? Are we going to have additional costs to incur? What's going to happen with the parks? All the other services the township provides. So I'm interested in getting answers, and it seems to me if you're not interested in answering questions or having a conversation, then you don't have a plan and you don't have answers. So I'm not sure why we're afraid to talk, but we're not going to resolve anything if we don't. So I'm hoping for some more open communication. Thank you.
Lastly, I have Representative Steve Reich who would like to speak, who's on the list.
You may not know me, my name is Steve Reich. I'm your state representative for the 63rd District. Back in 2015, McHenry County tried to consolidate townships. There was a lot of hearings, there were a lot of meetings, and finally there was a vote at the county board level that turned down the proposal to consolidate because they didn't prove their case. They couldn't show the facts were there before, the facts were there the day after they voted, but on the day they voted, they did not present the facts necessary to show that township consolidation was going to save money and retain the services that we demand. Since I first ran for this job, I have been consistent. I don't know if consolidation saves money or not. I don't know, because no one has ever sat down and showed me dollars and cents how if you eliminate one layer of government and move it up to a more centralized and bigger layer of government, that you're going to end up with lower costs. There's a basic rule of economics that says as you move toward monopoly, the cost of your goods or services goes up because there's no competition to come in and make you efficient. Government is the ultimate monopoly. There is no competition. We have got to be sure before we put our names, before we put this on a ballot, that in fact there is going to be a cost saving to consolidating this road district into McHenry Township. I'm not convinced, and nobody has ever shown me any figures whatsoever to say that that is so. I've sat many hours in Bob Anderson's barbershop arguing with him about consolidation. He's not going to answer my question because it's not his job to answer public comment. I defy him to tell you that I have ever come out and said that I am against consolidation. The only thing I have ever said is that if you want to consolidate and you can prove to me that it saves money, I'll back it. I'll back it. I'll be the first guy to stand in line. And that's why I filed my bill in the state legislature. It's a trailer bill to Sam Yingling's bill that allowed for the elimination of townships, or road districts, fold them into townships. All it asks for is a cost study. Now, Jack Frank says that's an unfunded mandate. An unfunded mandate is what you folks are paying on your property taxes for all the stuff that Springfield tells you that you have to do in your schools that we're not giving you the money for. That's an unfunded mandate. That's every year. This is a one-time cost. Go out there, retain some experts, let them tell you how much it's going to cost to eliminate the road district and replace it with the judgment of the people sitting on this board. Mike, we've known each other for a good number of years now. I think you know that I'm an honorable person when it comes to this. I would ask you, please, hold in abeyance your vote on this referendum, because you know something? We need to be shown that it actually saves money. Dan, you paid your property taxes with pennies or dollar bills? Dollar bills. What happens in 2 or 5 years when your tax bill goes up? Because what has happened is that we haven't proven that township
doing this will save money. No, it may end up raising your taxes. I'm betting it will. You're gonna take those extra dollar bills and pay your taxes with it? Who are you gonna go to blame it? How do you put this toothpaste back in the tube when you see your township tax bill go up because you've got to replace a guy who's sitting there as your road commissioner with a professional who knows how to handle 100 miles of township road? I dare say, except for you guys sitting out there in the colored coats, we don't know how to do that. These guys don't know how to do that. Let's figure out exactly whether or not we're going to save money by putting this under the control of the township versus keeping it the way it is. Until you can show me the money, I can't support this. Thank you.
Thank you for your comments, Representative Wright. Is there anybody else? I don't want to miss anybody tonight. Is there anybody else that would like to speak yet? Okay, none being heard, we're going to move on, okay, to our meeting. Okay, gentlemen, first thing on our meeting is the approval of the minutes of the Township Board meeting held on December 14th, 2017. That are in front of you.
I don't have any corrections, but I got a couple of things that I think were missing out of the minutes. At the last meeting, we were supposed to have an update about the lawsuit. We have a discussion for tonight, I brought that up. We were gonna talk about that at the meeting. I made an example that we had talked about, when I'm at the Harrison School Board, that comes up about, a report on that, just an update in the public, what's going on. If that was not in the minutes, I think that should be in there.
Okay, we can add that. I don't think that requires action, so I could do that.
Okay, and then another one was, that I'd asked to, have published in the newsletter that was not in the minutes, that you would, and you agreed to it, to put in there about the assets are in the 8 banking institutions?
I did agree to that, and you're correct. I was seeing from the minutes, so we can add those to the minutes. It's already being written about that it's going to be in the newsletter, so we can add it to the minutes.
But that should be in the minutes, thank you.
Okay, so if we could add those 2 changes to the minutes, then can we approve them once they're with the changes?
I'll make that motion with approval.
Okay, Mr. Anderson's made a motion to approve the December 14th board minutes with the 2 changes that he's just proposed. All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Are there any nays?
Aye.
Okay, no nays being heard, all ayes. We didn't have a second, I'm sorry. Let's have a second, excuse me. Let's have a second to Mr. Anderson's motion, excuse me.
I'll second.
Second to Mr. Rakestraw. Any discussion? Okay, no discussion being heard, now we will take a vote, I apologize. All those in favor of approving these minutes signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Are there any nays? None being heard, we have all ayes. Okay. Motion carries. Next, gentleman. Is, we did have a executive session meeting. These are not to be made public at this point in time, but you have those. Are you willing to approve those as stated? And if not, we'll table them and go back to them.
I'd like to have a discussion on the executive session, why we were brought in there.
Whoa, we cannot do that. That is not, Mr. Milto, please hold me.
That would be not open for, public comment this time or discussion.
Okay.
You can go into the executive session to discuss the minutes, and we can talk about the meetings again, because it is a confidential nature, but at this time, it will not be open to the public.
Okay.
So what I'm asking for at this point in time, you have some basic executive session minutes there from that meeting. Is there opposition to these, or can we approve them?
I'll make the motion to approve.
Okay, we have a motion by Mr. Anderson to approve the executive session minutes. Can I have a second to that?
I'll second.
seconded by Mr. Wojcicki. Any discussion on the matter? None being heard, all those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Are there any nays?
Aye.
One nay by Mr. Cunningham.
No, I said aye.
Oh, I'm sorry, I thought you said nay. Okay, all ayes, motion carries. All right, thank you, gentlemen. All right. Motion for the approval and receipts and bills of the town fund.
We, the undersigned members of Mchenry Township Board of Trustees, certify that we have this 11th day of January 2018 examined and audited the amounts due for the items specified in the claims of tax and hereby authorize payments of same. Total reimbursements to be approved, nothing there. Total bills to be approved, $36,459.94. Total bills paid prior to audit, $41,017.10. Total be approved, $77,477.04. Total receipts, $17,626.63. I motion to approve the receipts and pay the bills for the town fund.
Okay, I have a motion by Mr. Anderson to accept the receipts and pay the bills of the town fund. Do we have a second to his motion?
I'll second it.
Seconded by Mr. Cunningham. We need a roll call vote on this. Anderson?
Yes.
Cunningham?
Yes.
Rakestraw?
Yes.
Mr. Rakestraw? Yes. Mr. Wojcicki?
Yes.
And Mr. Adams, yes. All yeses, motion carries. Okay, next, moving down the agenda, we have a motion for the approval of receipts and bills for the General Road and Bridge Fund.
We, the undersigned members of the Mchenry Township Board of Trustees, certify that we have this 11th day of January 2018 examined and audited amounts due for the items specified in the claims attached and hereby authorized payments of same. Total reimbursements to be approved, 0. Total bills to be approved, $119,456.33. Total bills paid prior to the audit, $14,481.73. Total to be approved, $133,938.06. Total receipts, $4,566.11. Making a motion to approve these bills for the General Road and Bridge Fund.
Okay, Mr. Cunningham has made a motion to accept the receipts and pay the bills for the General Road and Bridge Fund. Do we have a second to that motion?
I'll second it.
Seconded by Mr. Wojcicki.
Yes.
Okay, any discussion on this matter? None being heard, roll call vote. Anderson?
Yes.
Cunningham?
Yes.
Rakestraw?
Yes.
Wojcicki?
Yes.
Adams, yes. Motion carries. Next item on the agenda is the motion for the approval and receipts and bills for the Permanent Hard Road Fund.
We, the undersigned members of the Mchenry Township Board of Trustees, certify that we have, on this 11th day of January 2018, examined and audited amounts due for the items specified in the claim attached and thereby authorized payment of same. Total reimbursements to be approved, 0. Total bills to be approved, $7,719.90. Total bills paid prior to audit, $20,535.02. Total to be approved, $28,254.92. Total receipts, $1,928.52. I make a motion that we approve the Permanent Hard Road Fund.
Okay, we have a motion by Mr. Rakestraw to approve the receipt, to accept the receipts and pay the bills of the Permanent Hard Road Fund. Do we have a second to his motion?
Second.
Seconded by Mr. Anderson. Is there any discussion of the same? None being heard, roll call vote. Anderson?
Yes.
Cunningham?
Yes.
Rakestraw?
Yes.
Wojcicki?
Yes.
Adams, yes. All yeses, motion carries. Okay, we're moving down the agenda. Next item on the agenda is fund transfers. At this time, we don't need to do any, gentlemen. Now we're to the next item agenda, which is new business. First item on the agenda is a discussion regarding drafting a resolution to add to the November 6, 2018 general election ballot a referendum question. Should Mchenry Township Road District be eliminated, all road district 3s will be taken over by the Mchenry Township Supervisor's Office. Open for discussion.
Do I have to make a motion and get a second before we discuss it?
Yes, you should.
I move the McHenry Township Board by resolution submit to the McHenry County Clerk a proposition to the electors for the November 6, 2018 general election to abolish the McHenry Township Road District in accordance with the general election law. The ballot shall be in the following form. Shall the road district of the Township of McHenry be abolished with all the rights, powers, duties, assets, properties, liabilities, obligations, and responsibilities be assumed by Mchenry Township, and it would be a yes or no on the ballot.
Okay, we have a motion by Mr. Anderson. Do we have a second to his motion?
I'll second that motion.
Seconded by Mr. Cunningham. It's time for discussion, gentlemen.
I would like to start if I could.
You may.
House Bill 607, what a gift. What's in it for you? It's an opportunity for citizens to reduce the size and cost of government. Excuse me. House Bill 607 provides for ballot access, giving voters the opportunity to abolish the road district with all rights, powers, duties, assets, property, liabilities, obligations, responsibilities to the township, the corporate part of the township. Most people do not realize there are two parts, two taxing levies to the township. One is the township, which is the corporate, and the road district. Representative Sam Yangling, Lake County, sponsored this bill. Representative Yangling is a former Avon Township supervisor. House Bill 607 amends the Illinois Highway Code, provides by resolution the Board of Trustees of any township located in a county with less than 3,000 inhabitants may submit a proposal to abolish the road district of that township at a general election or a consolidated election. Provides for the form of the ballot, provides that a township in a county with less than 3 million inhabitants, a road district shall be abolished by operation of the law effective 90 days after voter certification by the governing election authority or on the date the term of the highway commissioner office at that time the proposition was approved by the electors, which is ever later. Provides that the township shall exercise all duties and responsibilities of the highway commissioner under code and may enter any contract with a county, municipality, or a private contractor to administer roads under its jurisdiction. A little bit of history about House Bill 607. It was filed in January 24, 2017. It was signed into law by Governor Rauner August 14, 2017. It was a 7-month process. There was 38 steps in the House, 19 steps in the Senate. That's 50 steps in total. The Senate support was 84%. House support was 67%. This was not pushed through by any means. I'd like to read a letter of support of this from Representative Sam Yangling. It's dated January 8, 2014. Mr. Bob Anderson, trustee, McHenry Township, 3703 North Richmond Road, Johnsburg, Illinois, 651. Dear Mr. Anderson, I admire your advocacy on behalf of taxpayers of McHenry County and grateful for your past testimony in Springfield during my past legislative committee on consolidation, where Mr. Wright was there at that time. Today I write to you in support of your efforts to consolidate duplicated layers of government, like township highway departments. As the chief sponsor of House Bill 607, now law, and as the chairman of the House of Committee on Government Consolidation in the Illinois House of Representatives, I am constantly looking for areas of government that require consolidation to help reduce the high property tax load that is unfairly placed on middle-class families. The passage of this bill, which allows a Board of Trustees to place the question on the ballot of whether a township road district should be abolished, is one solution I am proud to have delivered to the people of our state. It is great to see you take up this issue in your area, and I appreciate your past correspondence with me. Sincerely, Representative Sam Yangling.
Ooh. All right, Mr. Anderson, respect his comments. He has the right to his comments. All right, is there?
I'm done yet.
Sorry.
Thank you. This is from Hanover Township, Cook County. The Hanover Township Board of Trustees last December 2016 voted unanimously to place the question before the voters in the spring consolidated election. The proposal approved of the road district in the process of being merged with the township operations with the expectation of achieving cost savings and efficiency.
Mr. Anderson, can I stop you? I didn't hear which township was that? I'm sorry. I
Hanover
apologize.
Township.
Hanover?
Yes.
Okay, good. That's great. That'll be a good example.
Yeah. So, and this is the law that Cook County is, in Cook County, they've had the opportunity to go ahead and do exactly what we have the opportunity to do tonight. The Township Road Commission has too much spending power, not enough township board oversight, more than any other elected official in Illinois. I don't know any elected official has more power to spend public money than the road commission. You can also hire and fire employees without township board approval. We've been on the board here for 8 months. When we got the audit several months ago, a snowplow was purchased for $174,317. I didn't see, I don't believe any trustee saw anything as far as whether it was that bid out, why we needed that truck. Another piece of equipment, a snowplow, $184,304. Purchased 2016 Ford Super Duty 350. That was $42,950, and then also another Ford 150, $36,868. Just some examples that we've been here for 8 months. Nothing came before us to do that. I turned it over to the trustee.
What do you know about plow trucks?
And I'll tell you another thing.
Whoa. I didn't recognize you, so just wait a second. All right. Now, any other discussion?
I'd like to speak.
Okay, now you may.
Yeah, Junior, I've plowed for 17 years. I know all about them. I probably ran more jackhammers and shoveled more concretes on roads and bridges than Mr. Condon has himself.
He knows more about roads and bridges than all four of you put together. If you ran snowplows, you know how much they cost.
All right, gentlemen. The board has pointed out to me there should be no discussion during this. No, correct. So let's move on. Let's not have a debate in the audience. That's a public comments for it. All right. Let's
then I'm still going to speak without being interrupted, right?
You can speak without
So what is wrong? We vote on this in January. If you want to get all your information out by the November election, why don't you get it out? I see a lot of crabbing and whining about the school districts. When's the last time any of you people were at a school board meeting? Put your hands up.
What's it to you?
1, 2, 3, 4.
Every month, both of them.
Don't start making assumptions about
Miss, okay, please, audience, let's keep it in check. Mr. Cunningham, this is not a debate with the audience. If you want to make a comment, discuss, well, no, you're making a debate. Please do not make a debate. If you continue to do that, I will have to censure you. All right, are you done, Mr. Cunningham, or do you have anything else to say? That is in a statement form.
I'll be done.
Okay, he is done. Is there any other discussion on this matter? No one else has discussion. I do. Wait, I'll recognize Mr. Condon, the road commissioner. Go ahead.
I just have a couple quick questions for clarification. Number one, when would this take effect again? I didn't quite, I believe it's at the end of this term, my term, which would be 3 years from now. Is that correct?
That's correct.
Can somebody tell me what the rush is in jumping into this when it's 3 years away? Thank you. Okay.
It's not a rush.
There's no discussion.
Why is, if in your opinion it's a rush, it's not a rush.
We can have discussion amongst board members, not amongst the audience.
That's fine. Again, it's 3 years from now, and you want to put it on the ballot for this November, and you want to vote on it today to do that. Secondly, that's the rush. Secondly, is there any evidence that there would be any tax savings?
Well, you'd have to ask Mr. Wright. He was there for 2-3 years, and there was never any study. He just started last month.
Mr. Wright is in his first term in the Illinois General Assembly. He has not been there for 3 or 4 years. Mark Twain once said that you should first get all the facts. You can distort them later at your own
All right.
One of the reasons I believe for doing this or considering this, and quite frankly, I'll go on the record right now, that if we take the time and do the right things and figure out that this is beneficial, you'll find that I'll be the first one to sign on, okay? Unfortunately, you don't want to do that, and I'm not quite sure why. My next question, when you say you don't have any oversight over the township road district, you do review the bills on a monthly basis, correct?
Yes,
You do review the levy and approve it, right?
we will this spring.
You did this last fall, actually, I think, wasn't it?
You already approved the levy.
You do a review of the budget, right? You will.
Yes,
And I assume you would have looked at last year's budget already.
a little bit.
Okay. Regardless, you understand the
No, we
point.
have no
My-
really say so
my-
over
you know what?
last year's budget.
Bill, my
That's it.
question isn't to argue with you about that. My question is to clarify, when people say there is no oversight, that seems to be a lot of oversight. That's
Is there
my
any
point.
oversight to who you hire
Is there any oversight in who you hire, Craig?
and who you hire?
There is, well, yes, and who I hire, yes.
Do I have any oversight who you hire?
No, you do not.
And I have none over he hires.
You set policy and procedures, that's what all boards do. Most boards do not have, even school boards don't hire the teachers, okay? It's done by the
School
superintendent.
board
Yeah,
members
do
do,
that.
school board members do approve hiring and firing.
They may approve it,
No,
but,
they don't.
Only administration, not.
only administration, you don't get to hire and fire the teachers.
Okay. Can I continue with my questions? Please. Do you have any plan on reducing, is your plan to reduce services in order to save taxes? Is that where the savings coming from?
I don't see any reduction in services.
Okay, thank you. You mentioned that this is a duplicate layer of government. This is a duplicate layer. What exact government does the Township Road District duplicate?
Well, as far as duplicating government, Jim, I think the second board meeting when we stopped the duplicating of the weed ordinance that by state statute was under the county, so that's a good start, ain't it?
Okay.
We're not paying our supervisor to moonlight for the, county, are we?
I guess maybe I would ask then, since you brought that up, I would just like to take a moment and ask the question of Supervisor Adams. The weed ordinance that the county has chosen not to enforce and that previous board members had chosen to enforce in Mchenry Township, did that cost the township anything?
I can't say it didn't cost anything, but it was very insignificant, because all those costs came back through liens, etc.
Could we get the discussion back on House Bill 607 on the motion, please?
All right, let's get the discussion back.
As soon as Bill sticks to the thing. Third, the last comment that I would make is Mr. Yingling, Representative Yingling, is from Lake County. And Lake County is not McHenry County, and McHenry Township. McHenry Township has over 100 miles of road. Now, if you want to start with consolidation, I think maybe we ought to think about the Senate bill where they're talking about mileage and smaller townships and evaluating things there first. But to take one of the biggest townships with one of the most miles and decide right there to knock it out doesn't seem to be, from a business standpoint and a common sense standpoint, the right thing to do. So you'll excuse me if I really don't understand why Mr. Yingling is so concerned about McHenry Township when he should be worried about the job that he should be doing downstate to reduce our taxes and fulfill the crisis that we have in paying our schools so that it doesn't have to come out of real estate property taxes. Never mind.
Okay, you done, Mr. Kine?
Thank you.
I would just like to make some comments. Mr. Anderson, you brought up Hanover Township. That is correct, and I believe I'm correct that they had 3 miles of road or less. Is that not correct?
I don't have any miles on this.
14. Okay, they had 14 miles of road.
My point was, though, that law was available there in Cook County, and that did move forward.
That's fine, I agree with you, but I just wanted to point out they had very few miles of road, and that might make sense in that instance, okay?
Supervisor Adam?
Yes.
If I can make one more point, in particular to Hanover Township, I believe it was. And I might be incorrect in this, but I believe I'm correct. There was one township in the state that was eliminated over the last recent period of time. That township, this spring, when flooding occurred, and Nunda Township was out there, and McHenry Township was out there, doing our jobs, and doing a heck of a lot more than going to their paper, to the radio stations and asking for help. We did it ourselves, amongst ourselves, with our citizens. That township actually had, because they had eliminated the road district, I believe, and I could be incorrect on this, residents actually contacted the township supervisor because they were having flooding issues. The township supervisor said, that's not my problem. You know who they cannot contact next? Surrounding township road districts to come in and help them with their flooding problems. So when you bring up Hanover Township, I think that is an excellent, excellent example of how it can go wrong.
I would like to make a couple comments. My big comment is I'm an MBA. You need to show me the numbers. Let's do a study. Is anybody going to invest in a company without a perspective or a study? No. And I'm not going to invest in getting rid of something unless I see a study that can show me that it's possible, okay, to save money. That's my comments. Are there any other comments? I would suggest to this board that we hold off on this motion and get a study done, and then if it's going to prove that we're going to save money, I will also vote yes. Well,
whatever, just a
can,
question for the residents.
The residents are not supposed to.
Well, no, I'm sorry, ma'am. There's a period at the end of the meeting here where you could do that, okay?
I'll speak then. My motion stands, I'm not changing the motion.
Okay, I have a motion and a second by Mr. Cunningham.
I would like to say a few words.
Okay, Mr. Richter.
I do believe, we have a group of people here who are have very good feelings about the township. And I don't have bad feelings about the township. So I think we need to understand that we're not here trying to destroy this township. We're here.
Okay, please let him make his comments. He has the right to do that.
It would be nice if somebody who's so involved politically.
It's not true. Please,
Please, there's no public comment right now. Go ahead, Mr. Richter. Please make your comment.
I ran for one reason only, and that is to try to save the taxpayers of Mchenry Township money. I know it's not going to be a great deal because we've had it illustrated that our bills are probably $200 or $300 or $400 per person. But I would love to have the job. If we could find a way to save $10 per household, I'd love to have the job to go and knock on the doors of every single person in this township and hand them a $10 bill. And I am not here trying to attack you guys that are out there on the roads every day. I respect you more than you can imagine. I used to plow snow myself. I know it's not an easy job. You get tired. It's weary. I understand that. We're not here to come after you guys. All we're here is to try to save some money. We all know taxation has gotten out of control in this state. People are coming up with ways to spend money that are just insane. And I was on a school board, and I can tell you firsthand, Bob knows this as well. If you knew how much money is being wasted on schools, you would be insulted. We are on this board. We're going to try to do something to save money on this board. We're not here to try to make the services bad. We're not here to try to take you guys' jobs away. That's not our intention. Our intention is solely to save some money for every single taxpayer in this township. Now, as far as if we vote on this thing, this opens up a debate. If township government is everything that you guys are saying it is, you'll win that debate. Why are you afraid? What are you so fearful of? If we get out there and show the people, one way or the other, you should be happy if you guys win, and you should be happy if we win, because you're going to be saving money too. I just really think, you guys, you're acting like you don't have a lot of confidence in township government because you're afraid to put it to the taxpayers and let them
They're uneducated. Once it's on the ballot, it's done. And after this vote tonight, there's no more debate. You're not going to do any more about it.
Okay, I'm sorry, no public comment right now. We can have that after the meeting.
Mr. Adams, if I could be recognized one more time.
You can be recognized one more time.
Our concern, I think their concern, Mike, is, and, you know, I've said it 1,000 times, Mr. Anderson said it a long time ago, I said we agree on a lot more than we disagree on. Unfortunately, you want to ignore that kind of stuff. Mike, the concern comes is when you do that, it's very easy to say, throw out there, save taxes, because every single one of us wants to save taxes. What we don't want to do is put something on the ballot without having actual information. That's all that anybody wants, is actual information. And from this point forward, unless we have that information first, we will put it on the ballot, and it'll slide through, and we won't get that information. That's the issue. Okay?
Okay, let me answer you. In 1992, Bob Anderson got the proposition put on the ballot. The people who were in township won. But you know, what he did was, I think, he made township the best government we have, because they became accountable. And that's what we're trying to do now. We're trying to make it better, not worse.
You're absolutely right. If I could be recognized one more time.
Yes, one more time, Mr. Conn.
You're absolutely right in that your job is to make it better, Mike, and that's what I like about you. Really, truthfully. Unfortunately, I think we might be going down the wrong avenue. There's other avenues. You don't throw out the baby when you're done with the bathwater. What you do is you come in, you look at what's there, you find out what the issues are, you try to adjust them. If they can't be adjusted, you change things. But you haven't even spent the time to come in and look at it, Mike, and that's what bothers me. We're on the same page, and we don't spend the time just to work through it. We want to argue with each other. All I'm saying is, come on in, tell me what the problems are. Let's look through the budget. Let's look through what your concerns are and walk through it. And you haven't done that, and I've asked you to. I'm
And
sorry.
I haven't done it because I didn't want to have an argument.
Mike, I don't think you'll ever get an argument from me. We will sit down, we will have a discussion, and I suspect we'll agree on about 80 to 90% of everything, and once in a while we're going to disagree. That's nature, and we'll compromise. That's the way it works. Honest. It's unfortunate. Your first steps should have been, you come in, you can become very familiar with everything that we do in the budget, and then you start thinking, does that make sense to me? Just like I did when I was a trustee. How many times did I come and see you, Mr. Van Everett? You can't answer that, you're in the audience. But that's what I did. I went through every single bill. When something popped up that looked unusual, I would go ask him. I would say, what is this? Okay? And that's what I would have expected. And then you would look at it and you would say, Jim, why do you need this? Why do you need that? What is that about? And then we would sit down and we would have a discussion, and I would explain to you, just like I explained to Dan the other day. Dan, we've made a couple of purchases recently. We have, and they're big purchases. And I said, Dan, I'm sorry, but I have to tell somebody why I did this. Why would you do that? That's a lot of money, and nobody's asked me. So I said, Dan, here's the reason why. And what did we do? We spent a half an hour or an hour sitting there. I think you were bored to death listening to me, quite frankly. But I told him exactly why I did what I did, because nobody asked me why I did what I did. And that's what's disturbing. Okay, Mike? And that's what I'm talking about. And what I'm saying is, let's let the system work. Let's not throw out the system. Let's see if the system's broke and see if we can't work to fix it. And if we can't fix it, then let's go that way. I'm right there with you. But unfortunately, we don't want to do that.
Well, with your public comment before the meeting, you somewhat impugned my reputation.
And Mike, you know what, I apologize, but I am attacked constantly on this, so I do apologize for that. And I am just surprised that you have not come and seen me and talked to me specifically like what I would have expected. That's all, Mike. And I apologize. I will apologize to you from now till the end of time if you took offense to that. But I just really expected you to come in and say, okay, let's figure out what's going on, and if you have issues, we would work together to figure them out, and if we couldn't, then we would do something about it.
Any of them
It's
come
that
in to see
simple.
you?
No.
Mike, thanks for listening, and again, I do apologize if you felt that I impugned your reputation. That wasn't my intent. My intent was, that's what I expected you to do. That's all. Okay?
let's back to the question. Is there any more discussion on this matter?
I would just say one thing, before I want to call the question now, is that this is up to the voters to decide, and Mike Rachel, he sets on that. You look out here and you see all the people are good together. Why are you so afraid of the voters? If this is a question that the voters can do that, put that out there, we'll make our case, the township make their case, but there's no reason. There is a law that's in place now that spells exactly what's gonna happen. Let the voters decide. It's their government, not your government, and we're trust that way.
We need to be informed.
Why are you afraid to educate the
All
voters?
right, please. No comment from, you can
I have
have
to
comment
call the
later.
question.
I'd like to be recognized. I think it's up to the voters too, Craig.
That's fine.
I think we're gonna leave it up to the voters. And as far as, I worked as hard as you guys
we
know
need
about
you.
that. Are you tired of every 4 years, never having a chance for advancement, knowing that you're gonna be replaced or voted in by a political hack every 4 years, and there's no place for you people to advance? You're as high as you're gonna go the way this system is set up, guys. The highest is you're gonna go.
How do you know?
It's the last 30 years.
I've worked here since I was 18, under
Didn't you just get that motion out of?
under 3 great highway
Okay,
commissioners, 2 of
let's-
them in this
let's-
room.
Ms. Adam, let's have this comment later. All right, I'm just gonna go on record again and say that, we need to educate the voters. That's all I'm asking for, is that we should get all the facts. Why are you guys afraid to get all the facts is the opposite question, okay? Thank you very much. No, I don't have 11 months because someone has to pay for the facts, and this board could do that, but you choose not to.
I'll call the question, please.
Question's been called by Mr. Anderson. We have the roll call vote. We are voting on this motion. Just so we're clear, yes means it is going to referendum, no means you do not want it to go to referendum, okay?
Yes means you go,
Yes means
with the resolution of what my motion was, a resolution.
But your
To go on the ballot, yes.
Well, but I'm assuming that's correct, Bob, but it'll be the resolution that's written in the law. I don't know if yours is word for word as it's supposed to be.
Right, yes.
Okay? So that if you're voting yes, you want it to go to referendum. If you're voting no, you're saying no, you do not want it to go to referendum.
Correct.
Okay, Mr. Anderson.
Yes.
Mr. Cunningham.
Yes.
Mr. Rakestraw.
I want to go on record as saying that I still want this to go. I feel very strongly that this is the right thing to do, but I would like to get more information, so my vote is no.
Mr. Wojcicki, your vote?
I think we're moving too fast. I have to agree with Mike. I have to say no.
And my own vote is no. Motion's defeated. Okay, moving on to the next agenda item. Mr. Anderson, who asked this would be on the agenda this month, discussion about the Mchenry Township corner, Lake Street Park, Fox Lake, and Hilltop Park, and the Whiskey Hills Community Center. We've had previous conversations about that. I guess I want to know where you want to go with this.
Where I want to go with it is that, I'm not so sure we should have that.
I'd like to see the minutes.
I don't know, I'd like to know how, I guess what the question was how was voted on, who was at the meeting, and how did we got to, how did it become township property?
It was donated to the township, I can tell you that.
I know.
It was either accepted by I believe it would have been accepted at an annual meeting or the township board. And the only way to sell property, as we've talked about this, to even do anything about it, is it has to go through an annual meeting. So I think the point is moot right now. I mean,
We asked for the minutes of that meeting. Do we have them today?
no, you do not, because it was it was not on the agenda. And are you asking me to get the minutes for the next meeting? Yes, I will if I can find them.
Well, Bob asked you the last meeting.
It wasn't on the agenda. He couldn't ask me.
Okay.
I want on next month's agenda, all you people, the meetings of the minute when we took over the parks.
You would like to see the minutes of when these properties were taken over. Is that what you're correct?
We have a
Yes.
sign-in sheet.
Excuse me? I don't understand.
Sign-in sheet for the people that attended the meeting that night.
If it's available, I don't know if it's available. The only thing that has to be kept is the minutes, not necessarily the sign-in sheet. So I will see if it's available. I will find all records that are available, and I will bring them to the next meeting.
Jim, what a chance of donating them back to him. Funny. But I think it's pretty funny when a bunch of people in the other part of the township don't want to raise their association fees due to manpower, but us in Indian Ridge raise ours and do ours. And when you had that special meeting in the vote, did you put it in the newsletter to ask the people in Mchenry, Wonder Lake, Macomb, like that struggle with their social?
If you didn't come to the annual meeting, that's your own fault. You have every right to do that, so.
But how did you put it together?
I don't know, Bill. I wasn't here. I don't know.
Well, we're gonna find out.
You can find out, but you can't reverse it.
So could we have an agenda item?
We will have an agenda item at the next meeting. I will bring the minutes for the minutes that I can locate regarding when these properties became before the board or for the annual meeting.
Thank you.
You're welcome. The minutes could go way back. I don't know. I have to find out. Old business. I've given you we wanted to review and discuss the sample letter on the Illinois Township Electoral Board that I put a sample letter in there in your packet. I don't know if you guys like it, don't like it. What's your feeling?
What page is it on?
58, mister. It will be at the end of all the financials.
At the last meeting, I said I didn't have any problem with the letter.
No, we didn't have that letter. The letter you didn't have any problem with was the consolidation for the county board. And Mr. Rakestraw said he wanted to examine it and was going to email me some comments. I never did receive any. I assume that he's okay with it. That's why. That's the next item on the agenda. This is the electoral board that.
Okay.
Okay.
I'll my paper. I missed that. Sorry.
Trying to locate it myself.
There's a couple of things that I want to change on that.
Okay. It's right before. Okay, hold on 1 second. Let's get to this letter first. Okay.
January 11th.
Which
letter.
January 11th letter, 2018. And I'm open to changes on that letter. What are we doing here?
We're saying here we would request the local county clerk's office. The county clerk she is the one that chairs that board. It's a three-person hearing board though.
I'm suggesting it goes to the county electoral board. I didn't know what else to do. If you have other ideas, I'm fine with it.
I think it has to go to probably the county clerk, but I think we have to refer to it as an electoral board, and with her being the chairman, okay? Because the county clerk's office be the authority.
It'd be preference the local county electoral board here. So this is not just for our county. This could, because we would like them to change the law across the state, would we not? So what I'm saying is in the last paragraph there, it would be the preference that the local Illinois county electoral boards hear all. Oh, I'm sorry. Yeah, Illinois county electoral boards hear all township petitions, meaning every county.
But I'm not sure. The attorney's here. The second sentence is that we request the local county clerk's office.
I'm asking when you file your, as now, when you go and file objections to petitions, you now file them at the township. I'm saying no longer. You go file them at the county clerk's office. Now, I can change the wording if you like. That's fine. If you know what, Mr. Anderson, if you'd like to look it over and send me an email with some changes to it, I'd be happy to do that.
I think I would like to do that.
Why don't we go ahead and do that? So if we can have a motion to table this for now.
I'll make that motion.
Okay, motion by Mr. Anderson to table this letter for now.
Second.
Seconded by Mr. Rakestraw. All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Any opposed? No. None being heard? Okay. Mr. Anderson, please look at the letter and email me what you would like changed in it. I will do so. Okay, now, Mr. Anderson, we're talking about the other letter that you were requesting, which is right after this one, to go to the county board members requesting that they do a consolidation study. Because they had originally talked about it.
Yes.
I had brought this letter last month.
I don't have a problem with it.
Is it okay as it is? Everybody look at it for a minute and decide.
We looked at this last month, right?
Yes, we did.
It hasn't changed.
No, it has not. Last month, you guys wanted to look at it longer, which was fine, and you were gonna email me some changes, and I didn't receive any changes, so I'm assuming you don't have any, but maybe you do.
I'll make a motion to accept it as it is.
Okay, we have a motion by Mr. Wojcicki to accept the letter as is. Who's seconded by Mr. Rakestraw. All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Are there any opposed? None being heard, I will put this on official stationery, and we can come in next week and everybody can sign it. And Bob, you said you would deliver it, is that correct? I will make you enough copies to deliver it to all the county board members and the chairman, correct?
You want us to come in sometime during the week to sign it?
Yeah, I'm gonna put on official stationery, so we're closed Monday, so Tuesday would be fine, or call me, either one.
Call me when the other trustees sign it. I'll come and pick it
Oh,
up.
that makes
sign it,
sense.
And then I'll take it to the county.
Okay, that's fine.
Okay, thank you.
So, gentlemen, if you could stop in Tuesday or so, sometime during the day to sign this letter, I'll have it ready for you. Give me, because we are closed on Monday, give me till about 11 o'clock, okay, so I can make sure it's all good and ready. All right, that's it for our old business. Moving on.
I have new business.
Well, we're past new business, Bob. You should have brought up under new business.
Huh?
You were supposed to bring that up under new business. We're past new business. Okay.
You won't go back?
No. You gotta bring up under new business next
I
month.
did it the last time, okay.
Okay.
Too many papers, okay.
All right. You have my supervisor report, my park report, my general assistance report, my senior center report is in your packet. It is there. Last month, I just want to mention this again, this is really a big deal. We're having the Wall That Heals, which is all the veterans killed in the Vietnam War, will be in the Mchenry Township Park on Memorial Day weekend. We expect thousands of visitors, thousands, and we ask you to all come, and we're going to be asking for help and volunteers. We'll be open 24 hours a day. So if you want to help or volunteer, please send me an email or call me, okay? We're in the planning stages right now, but it's a very moving, and especially that it's going to be Memorial Day weekend. We're also coordinating with Johnsburg and Mchenry to see if we can incorporate them in some kind of ceremony on Memorial Day, because they also have their own. So we're going to see what we can do. Okay. With that, if there's no questions about my reports.
I have something.
Okay.
On the parks report about Richmond Hills Community Center, the window replacement estimate, what is that?
We have not gotten an estimate yet. We've asked for an estimate, and we don't have it yet.
And also said they have a kitchen backsplash, a service door, new aluminum soffits and siding.
We haven't done any.
That's all the work that will be done on that building?
That's what we're looking at, but you obviously, hold on. We've got a request out for a bid right now to Tunney Construction Company in Mchenry, okay? They have not provided the bid as yet. Hopefully it will come in before our next meeting, and we'll certainly show it to you, and you'll have, obviously we can discuss it.
Will that come to us as approved at a board meeting?
It depends upon the, I'll be happy to discuss it now, put it that way. It depends upon the dollar amount though, okay? But it will come before you.
Okay, thank you.
Okay.
Craig?
Yes.
Is there only one bid coming for that?
Well, at this point there only is, because we wanted to see what the costs are going to be. If the costs are going to be higher than we anticipate, then we will go out to multiple bids.
Why don't we do that right away anyway? It doesn't cost anything.
Well, it does cost. You have to publish, you have to do all kinds of things when you do that. I don't have to publish if it's less than $20,000. If it's going to be $20,000 above, I have to publish, and I have to publish in the newspaper, and it costs us money. So If you would like me to go out to publish, I can do that.
What would it cost? Do you have an idea?
$250 plus time in the office, so maybe $500.
We probably, if there's 3 bids or 4 bids or 5 bids, we probably would save that amount of money just in getting.
Okay. I am willing to do that. I will send this out for bids, multiple bids. I think that's the wise thing to do anyways. Okay. All right, any other questions? All right, none being heard, I'm going to move on to the assessor's report, which I believe is also in your packet.
Okay, first of all, thank you everyone for coming this evening. I hope you'll come back next month and bring someone with you. So what's been going on in the assessor's office? As of last Friday, one of my deputies actually resigned to take a position in another township office. Part of the reason for his leaving was basically he got a significant salary increase over what I was paying, so. But that position will be filled as soon as I find a qualified person. We are still working on our appeals. That's pretty much what we do this time of year. We'll be doing that till about mid-February. We have about 25% of the appeals left to review and respond to for the hearings. With one less deputy working on this process, it does take a little longer. So it'll take a little longer before we start working on our 2018 assessments. Other than that, I am already lining up dates for the assessor forums and meetings that I hold every year. There's 2 to 3 during daytime hours, 2 to 3 in the evening hours, so that people have an opportunity to come and ask questions and find out about their assessments, ask questions, whatever questions they have. But, those will all be done soon and in the next newsletter that will be going out sometime in February. So watch your newsletters for those dates. There's a couple of expos coming up also that we'll be at to, again, reach out to people who can't make it in during business hours, and those are both in March. So we'll have more information on that in the next meeting and in the newsletter. And that's all I have.
I have a question.
Yes, sir.
You are running for state senator. Do you plan to resign from your position as assessor, or what are your plans for that?
Well, as you know, it is permissible to hold both offices. I am running for it.
I do know that, yes.
Yes, and that actually there was an assessor in Fremont Township in Lake County that actually was the assessor for 23 years, and for 14 of those years he was also a state rep. So it is possible to do it, but obviously we have to see how the election turns out. But what I can tell you is that I will not turn my back on the residents of the township that have elected me twice to this position. And just like you, I do not approve of positions being filled by appointment, especially when there is a majority of the term left. I've done a lot of good work here, and I continue to make a lot of progress. So I'm not willing to let it be turned over to have someone be appointed by this board, quite honestly.
So you don't plan on resigning?
If elected to serve as senator, I will fulfill my duties as assessor until the next election, when the residents of the township get to decide who they want to be their next assessor.
So you will hold 2 jobs then?
That's correct.
And we all know that it takes a lot of time and money to raise money to be senator and everything, and that's not going to take away from you for the assessors and the Mchenry Township people?
No.
Well, now let's talk about that, what do you call that, co-enforcement or whatever that the disbursement, we call it the margin of error. Out of the 17 townships we cost this before, I think we're 14th now, we're still up at the very top. Mm-hmm. That's about the same as what Carol Persky was when they voted you over her. Is that right?
I don't know.
Oh, you don't know? It is.
Well, there you go.
And if you're working full-time and doing all this now, and now you're going to take time away to run for senator and hold 2 jobs, see any improvement?
Bill, If anyone has a problem with my availability or my doing the job, I will address that. But I am more than capable of doing this job when I work at already about 80 hours a week and doing, because nobody else is doing what they need to do in the state to fix the problems that we have. I sit here every day and talk to people about their taxes. You can talk about cutting the township bill, part of the bill. That's not gonna do it. It's gotta be done. School funding has to be done, and all of the laws that I am very well aware of that give preferential treatment to certain groups who pay less taxes so that you pay more. I know how to fix that. I'm very capable of doing both jobs, and quite honestly, again, you guys ran on people not getting appointed to these positions. My position is the only one on this board that requires any kind of certification. If these people don't think I'm doing my job, I'll resign, but I will do my
When you
job.
ran for assessor, that you also had plans to advance yourself to say senator? And if you work 80 hours of work here, like you said, you're gonna spend 80 hours a week running for senator, when are you gonna sleep?
No, bring it on, bring it on. Have you seen me, have you
assessor's
seen?
a state senator.
Have you seen, or do you have any example of how I am not doing my job?
It seems that co-enforcement disbursement is the same under Carroll. There's been no improvement. We got 17 townships in the county, we're still 14. That's 13 lower than us. Where's the improvement?
Do you even understand what that means?
Yes, I do, I've been examining it. Show us the improvement.
There's
We'll
lots
let
of
the voters
improvement.
decide on that one.
Bill, if you don't like
Go
what
ahead
I'm
and
doing,
hold
that's
both
fine.
sides.
If people have elected me to do the job, and I'm going to continue to
And when
do
you
it.
asked them in March in the primary, did you tell them that you also had eyes to run for senator 7 months after
I
you got
didn't.
elected? Why
I did
didn't you?
not. I did
Oh,
not.
free and open government.
Why don't you tell us the cost savings of ruining the road district?
You know what?
All right. That's enough, gentlemen. We've had discussion.
Board of no facts.
Oh, Mary, please, go ahead.
I'm sorry. You know, here, the honest truth is that there was no plan to run for senator. But sitting in this position, I have learned an awful lot about the laws of the state and how there is nothing, I can only do so much to help the people of this township sitting in this office, and I'm doing that every single day. But in order to make any real difference in this state, those changes have to be made at the state level. I'm not willing to sit here and let people try to get rid of townships because they think it's gonna save $10 a person. I want to make a real difference, and the only way to do that is at the state level. I realized that by sitting in this job and working for this township, and they elected me again to do it, I'm going to finish it, however many terms they elect me to do it.
Bill, you've expressed your opinion, that's enough on this subject, it's going nowhere. Moving on to the highway commissioner's report.
I emailed you my report. First, I'd like to apologize for not getting it to you sooner. With the holidays and then being sick for quite a few days last week, we didn't get it done in time, so that's my fault. I do apologize for that. I assume you would have read it, that you did have it, and you would have read it. I'll just summarize real quick because I'm sure we're all ready to go home. Non-dedicated roads, no change. I listed our projects. Actually, these are our projects for, it's not tentative anymore. These are our projects for paving for 2019. Lincoln Road from Route 31 to Chapel Hill Road. That's being done in conjunction with the city of Mchenry. Ringwood Road from Route 120 all the way past Solon, North Solon Road, or South Solon Road, closer to Johnsburg. That's being done with 4 different agencies, including Ringwood, Johnsburg, Macomb Lake, and McHenry in that one also. So our own paving program includes a couple of projects this year, Maryville Road, and basically the south half of West Shore Beach subdivision. So those are the road programs for this year. We did meet with HR Green today. As far as our own road program, we will be out to bid by the end of the month and plan on having a bid opening on February 5th or 14th. Then that's a special day, honey. And I'd be glad to answer any of those questions with you on that. We do have our preliminary schedules for roads to be reclamated treatment this year coming up, and crack sealing treatment for some of the roads. Indian Ridge, no change, as you're all aware. We did get everything paved that got disturbed during the start of the year, so I hope everybody's satisfied with that. I know there was a lot of hard work, and I'd personally like to thank Current Contracting. They did a wonderful job. I think H.R. Green also did a very good job staying on top of them and getting it done. And I also like to thank the Lord a little bit because he cooperated with weather. There's no doubt about that. Intergovernmental agreements, NSRs, we are again maintaining roads for the for the county that are non-dedicated subdivision roads. This year we have approximately 9 miles. We've completed our last recycling in November, and I apologize I don't have the figures for you here. Linnell had them, and she's been out for the last 3 days. Winter snow plowing, I gave you a summary of the events that we've had so far, just to keep you up to speed. We were out again today. And just for your information, as we all learned, you know, if I were sitting in a trustee's seat today, quite honestly, guys, I would have said, why did we have snow plows out at 4:30 today? It was still raining out. Now, Mike, you probably knew it, and Bill, you probably knew it. But they were predicting a very quick change in temperature that would have turned that wet pavement into ice very quickly. So that's why, if anybody was out there, something kind of unique. It's one of those unique things that happens every couple of years. And we were out there putting the salt down even before the temperature changed to prevent that to turn into ice. Because it takes, 2 hours to cover all of our routes. So we got out ahead of the storm. So if you saw us out there before it got cold, that was the reason why. So, and then one last thing, we are replacing the existing conveyor system to the salt dome. We did get bids for it. The low bid was $241. We received 2 bids. $210,000 was the low bid. $292 was the high bid for it. And I had an estimate of $200,000 for it, but that did not include a couple of entrance barricades, I'll call them. I forget the exact name for them, to hold the salt back while we load in and out when we get to the full amount. We're right in line with that. And lastly, there was a gentleman on Fox Lake Road, and I did not hear your name. And can you just tell me your address and your name, and I'll get in touch with you and try and see if we can't straighten it out. I would suspect that 90% of the time we do try to take care of our residents, and 5 to 10% they fall through the cracks, and I could only apologize if that happened here. So please accept my apology, and if you want to give me your name and number, we'll talk about it again and see if there's more that we can do, okay? That's all that I have.
Any questions of the road commissioners? Highway commissioners report.
The salt bin is already filled, so you don't need this right now, right?
No, the salt bin, the purpose of this, I'll quickly explain why I feel it's important. Our salt bin, the way the original, if you went to the county or went to other salt domes, you'll see that they fill with a conveyor that is actually in the ground with a pit where the truck comes up, dumps, and pulls away. The way it works right now is they pull up here, they dump, we pick up, fill the salt dome with our loader for probably 70% of it. And we actually build a ramp and drive that loader up on top of that salt to distribute salt in that salt dome. And I personally don't feel very comfortable with that. I think it's bad. I think there's a lot of potential. We have a $200,000 loader there, plus a couple $100,000 dome that'll get damaged if something gives way and it slides away. It's not a good way to do it. So I've taken the initiative, and I feel that it's important to do 2 things. 1, it's a safety issue. 2, it's an efficiency issue. Right now, once you're done with the loader, then on top of that, you have to put 2 additional guys up in the dome spreading salt in order to fill the dome properly. So those are the reasons for doing it. So right now, our salt dome was full, and during this time of the year, we don't have a problem with it. When we have a problem with it, it is when, like last year, where we don't use as much salt, and we have to put more salt in there, and we have to get that thing full, and that's how we have to fill it. And it's just not a safe way or an efficient way to do it.
So this purchase, are you going to go ahead and just make the purchase, or are you going to maybe seek out some more bids?
We've had 2 bids. We were up to 6 people asked for bid packages, 6 groups, and we received 2 bids. It's a bit of a specialty field, so we received 2 bids and we felt comfortable with that.
Have you looked into perhaps an elevator that's used that you could purchase?
I used one? I don't think, in this case, because of elevators and the purpose that we have here, that's a highly corrosive environment, and there's certain uniqueness to our, to the configuration of the dome. We're not using the standard belt conveyor, we're forced to use a chain conveyor because of the slope and everything. I don't think that's available. So, it's not like an automobile where there's a lot of used automobiles type of things.
I understand that.
And to be honest with you, we probably will have an intergovernmental agreement with Greenwood Township. They'll actually purchase our existing conveyor because they have a fashion that they can use it that way, with the way their dome's set up.
So they're kind of getting the benefit of what I'm talking about.
Yes, they would in that case. Yes, absolutely.
All right, if there's no other questions of the Highway Commissioner, executive session's next on our agenda. I don't feel the need to go to that. Board member comments.
Well, weren't we supposed to talk about?
Oh, I'm sorry, you wanted to talk about the executive session.
Well, I
Not the executive session,
I just
about
thought
the-
we should have a little discussion that we are being sued, and that we could discuss a little bit in the public. We are talking about
We
that.
certainly can do that, and I'm going to call on our attorney, Mr. Militello, to discuss those matters as he knows he can.
Last month, we went into executive session. There was a question of whether or not the township is in the middle of a lawsuit regarding taxpayer. We are one party, one defendant as a result of 7 to 14 other defendants in different cases, including other townships, school districts, the county of Mchenry. There was specific questions that were asked of me relative to what we're doing or what we're not doing, and at that point in time, just to backtrack relative to the last meeting, I refused to comment on it because it's executive session stuff, it's attorney-client privilege, and it's strategy relative to how we're handling the case. What I can tell you though is, since our last meeting, the township has filed motions to dismiss on 2 of those pending cases, and they're going to be set for hearing. When I say motions to dismiss, they're motions to dismiss relative to the plaintiff's case. So we don't have a date set for that, but those are currently pending. What they are various taxpayers that have filed. They've come together. There's between the 2 different complaints, somewhere between 7 and 114 different properties and property owners that are involved. Right now, it's still pending. As far as strategy, we're going to still continue to move forward, and any updates that are public, we'll certainly make them available if this board so chooses.
How many lawsuits are there altogether now, Jim?
Relative to the township, there's 4 lawsuits. There's a 2015 case, 2016 case, and 2 2017 cases. And 3 of those cases are relative to one particular group of people. One is a new one that's relatively new.
And that's what I was saying, executive session, on open and free government. We should have told the folks here to come in and support you that 2 more lawsuits have been filed in the last month against this township.
Okay, Mr. Kine, I'll remind you, a member of this board, as part of this board.
So for purposes of clarification, what the lawsuits are about.
Record.
Yeah.
I found it on the computer. Correct.
What the purposes of the lawsuits are for the purposes of excess accumulation. And what happens is individual taxpayers who feel that the township, in this case, we have 2 bodies. We have the township, Mchenry Township, and we have the Mchenry Township Road District. Just like we have Algonquin Township and the Algonquin Township Road District and any other townships. You have the county, you have school districts, multiple layers, and what you have is within McHenry County, you have various jurisdictions that overlap. Then those property owners that are within those multiple jurisdictions have a tax bill. And when you look at your tax bill, you see all those taxing bodies. Well, what has happened is you have a combination of various property owners that have come together and said, hey, various unit of local government, we believe you have excess accumulation. And when they say excess accumulation, saying, hey, you have too much money and we think you should not have levied for it. Well, in this particular case, they would look at both McHenry Township and McHenry Township Road District and say whether or not you should have levied in order to tax the properties, in order to raise funds, in order to meet the operating expenses. And that's what's at issue at this point.
Over-accumulation, I can't get it out, means overtaxing.
No, no.
In a sense,
No, that does not mean that.
Is that starting a levy?
No, what over-accumulation means is there's a body of law which talks about how much a unit of government may maintain on hand and how it is preserved relative to capital expenses, things that are anticipated in the future, things that, whether it's capital improvements, property, equipment, trucks, things like that that you're gonna need, and then that have been identified. There's what is called GASB 54, Governmental Accounting Board Standards, that, and I believe we've had our auditors here that has talked about that. They've talked about safe amounts that have been held and encouraged, but what excessive accumulation is not so much what the levy is, it's about how much money is on hand. And the question then becomes, do we need to have a levy for a particular fund, for a district, or the road district, because there's enough funds there? And that's the issue, whether or not there should be a levy in the first place. Now, if you have a levy that's considered excessive, and it becomes void, the levy is not void altogether. What happens is those individual property owners would get a refund. And that's what we saw in the paper relative to Algonquin.
For being overtaxed. Now, in the 2014-2015 lawsuit, the ones that were filed this year, 2017, do they pertain to the 2014? Or we not lose our, we didn't, learn our lesson here? So are they?
At this point, when you say lesson, there's no judgment or decision by the court. That issue is still currently pending. It's very interesting because there's actually new law that's come out relative to what townships may accumulate. And at this time, it's still pending and there's no decision, and that's why we, as far from a strategy standpoint, I've kind of advised this board not to talk about what that particular strategy is because
we talked about this. We talked about this, and there was a ruling about Algonquin. You showed us last month we talked about it. So there was a ruling.
But that has nothing to do with us, Bill.
Okay.
But we're all joined together, he said.
No.
What he said, 7 different governments, right?
No, that's not what he's saying. He's saying there are 7 different governments being sued in our suit, and Algonquin's not one of them.
Yeah, what you have there, I don't know which case that is. You're talking about.
Well, we discussed last week. Right here.
If you're talking about the 2015 case, that is, you are correct, that is Mchenry Township. The Mchenry Township Road District are defendants with various other units of government, which includes Algonquin Township, Road District, the county of Mchenry, and various other school districts and other bodies. Now, that particular jurisdiction, Algonquin, was the only one at this time where a judge made a decision. The facts and circumstances relative to Algonquin are different than the facts and circumstances relative to Mchenry Township and Mchenry Township Road District and the county and the school district. So for purposes of strategy, we're different.
And that's the 2014, 2015.
Correct.
Talk 2017, is that related to that? Or is that something new now that these people didn't learn their lesson? It still happened again.
Bill, lesson is not a word to use in this. First of all, by your comments, I'm assuming that you're saying that this body is guilty and there's been no judgment made. And I will ascertain that we're not guilty, that we don't have an overaccumulation. Anybody could file anybody could file a lawsuit, there's no judgment. When a judgment is made, fine. It is your duty to defend this township as a township board member.
Yeah.
If there's any other questions on it, I'd be more than happy to address them relative to positions that I believe that are open to the public that we can comment on relative to strategies and how we're handling the motions at this time. I would probably refrain from that.
That's very satisfactory.
I'm glad we got it out since we snuck in last week.
All right, now, board member comments, are there any?
Is Leon still here? I have no comment.
All right, no board member comments at this time? Is there any public that would like to comment at the end of this meeting? Mr. Wright, I see you, go ahead.
First of all, I would like to congratulate the board on taking the second look at this. It took courage, guys, and it took a lot. it's your phone, sorry. We're in the country. All I want to say is that I'm grateful for the fact that this was openly discussed tonight, that we probably didn't change too many minds, but at least we slowed down the process to the point where the voters of this district, of this township, will be allowed to know whether or not what they're being confronted with on a ballot is or is not going to save them money. Like the supervisor said, this wouldn't take effect until 3 years hence anyway. We're going to have another election between now and the time that he leaves office. We got plenty of time, folks. Let's figure out what's going on. Again, if consolidation of the road district into the township will save money, I'll be the first person to stand up and say, let's do it.
Well, Steve, where
But I
were
wanna
you
thank
last
my-
Steve is making his comments. Use
But
your frame.
I'm content. What, Mr. Cunningham, go ahead.
Where were you last spring and last summer when all this was going through the assembly and the governor signed it in August? Where were you?
Well, first of all, there were about 200 and some odd bills that actually made it to the floor during session. Unfortunately, the way that legislation works, and Senator Mahady will find out when she gets down there.
Thank you.
Mr. Wilcox here, demand equal time. You would find that we have extremely limited amount of time to even consider what comes before us unless we sit on the committee that bill goes through. And I do not. I don't sit on the township's committee down in Springfield. My time is mostly spent dealing with education funding matters. And so, unfortunately, when a bill hits the floor for a vote, we have usually less than 20 seconds, maybe 10 minutes, to determine the exact nature of that bill, and that was a big bill. So the fact is that, yes, in a perfect world, and in fact, I co-sponsored a bill today that requires 72 hours of online notice and posting of a bill before it can be voted on the House floor.
That's great.
So the issue is not one of I was asleep at the switch. It was the fact that these bills come flying at us, and we got to make up our minds like that. We get staff analysis, but unfortunately staff analysis isn't complete. When I got a chance to look at that bill after it had been passed out of the House, I got to see that, in fact, that one thing that I would have asked for had I had the opportunity to see that bill in its entirety for a period of time to allow me to calmly reflect on it, I would have asked Sam Yingling to pull that bill and add exactly what I have added as a trailer bill to his House Bill 607. And I also added the same language to the Senate bill that talks about road districts of less than 10 miles. So, yeah, there's an old saying, you don't want to watch legislation or sausage being made.
Well, you had 6 months from August to December before you introduced your bill.
And you know something? I looked at the bill, I submitted my trailer bill, I discussed it with colleagues, and I think that my bill makes Sam's bill better. Because it does tell us as legislators, as county board members, as township commissioners, take care before you make a change. Legislation does not read, it follows. We need to make sure that what we're doing is for the best interest of the taxpayers in our community. And if it takes an extra 2 years for somebody to come up with a cost study so it can be on the next election, or there are township elections between November and 2020, you can put it on that.
Well, you politicians have long enough. This vote will go through sometime before November, So you guys better get moving on your studies, because this vote is going through.
It's your study as well. You're the one who wants to make the change.
Yeah.
You're the one who wants to make the change.
Funny, you spent 6 months on the sidelines and do nothing.
Sir, it falls upon you
And we're gonna
to
leave it to the voters.
justify the change. It's not for us to say you're wrong and here's why. It's for you to say you're right and here's why. That is your job.
Yes.
You're the township board. I'm just your humble state representative. So, frankly speaking, it falls upon you, and you're not doing your job.
Yes, I am.
Gentleman in the back row, did you want to say something?
Mr. Adams, I'm just going to ask, with respect to your parks report, I was confused about this project of some sort of repair project or construction and the issue of competitive bidding. When does the township require such competitive bids versus accepting?
Sure, I'll be happy to explain that. We follow the Illinois state law within the township code. Once something becomes an expense of $20,000 or more, it has to go to competitive bid. The reason this project hasn't gone to competitive bid, we don't think it'll be anywhere near that, okay? Let's say the bid came back and it was more than $20,000, I would have to go to competitive bid. Since this board would like me to do that anyways, I have no problem, I will do that. Mrs. Condon.
I just wanted to thank the trustees that actually listened to the audience and the supervisor who said, and I don't think there's anyone here who wasn't, if there is a cost savings, if it makes sense, if there's a way to eliminate, whether it be a road district or a township, and it makes fiscal sense and community sense as far as services, I thank you for holding off on your vote till that can be proved, because it's never been proved before. I also wanted to, a gentleman over here spoke earlier about how people are sitting in dispositions. I'm a mental health counselor, and I look at body language all the time, every day in my office. And I found it very interesting that 2 of our trustees at the end over here, while my husband was trying to do his presentation, that where they claim has no oversight, that they packed up their stuff and they were talking amongst themselves, and we're not even listening to the report of the road commissioner when he was trying to present and give them information. I just wanted to make it
Yes, sir.
My name is Bruce Bennett. I live on River Terrace in Johnsburg. For those of you who don't know me, I was a former village trustee for about 8 years, served on several committees. It's so important to do your due diligence, prove the numbers. I can remember several years ago when a newer, less tenured trustee wanted to eliminate the police department in Johnsburg. And it's like, okay, who's going to do it? Who's going to do it if we eliminate the Johnsburg Police Department? Oh, well, the county can do it. Well, we did some checking with the county, and the county actually wanted to do more of a cost than what we had for our internal budget. So that was quickly dismissed. But again, it's all about numbers, making sure you've got the right numbers. The other thing is, as you were talking and letting the electorate decide, I couldn't help but be pushed all the way back to high school. In my social studies class, that has always stuck out in my mind. Our teacher talked about, well, we now have the technology where everyone can vote on legislative matters. We've got the phone, and I think the touch-tone phone was new at that time. So that's a good thing, right? We can do that. And of course, most of the students quickly agreed. But then as we discussed and debated, we realized that an informed electorate would be critical to making the right decisions. And we really didn't trust moving that technology forward. It's so important to have an informed electorate, and quite frankly, in today's society, even with all our social media and technology, I don't think we necessarily should rely on the electorate to make the right decision on something that really impacts so many residents. Thank you.
like to thank the board for deciding to do due diligence on this. And for all the reasons that I mentioned before, I'm still opposed to it in principle because it seems glaringly obvious to me that having the board become the road district and contracting out and the whole bit is going to be a money sink. But given that this board, for the most part, was elected on a campaign to save taxpayer money, please keep in mind that while we must do the study before making a decision, that study is going to cost money. And so my personal opinion is we should try to save that money. It's not going to be a trivial amount because you're going to need professionals to do it, people who know how to do it. It's going to cost many thousands of dollars, and in the end, we'll just be having to pay for that in our taxes. So to do something that is going to end up being an obvious conclusion, I think is a waste of our money.
Now, we do have plenty of money, as the lawyers. I'm surprised you're still alive with all those noxious weeds next to your property.
I have a question for the attorney. Assuming that eventually that the motion would pass, let's say we don't get a study, we don't know what the cost savings could be, but the motion passes, goes to the General Electric, and they say, yep, get rid of the township district, or the road district, I'm sorry. And then let's say progress it a few years, and it really doesn't save any money. What recourse do I have as a taxpayer? Can I come and hold this board liable and actually sue this board?
No, no. No, there's what is called the Tort Immunity Act, which protects bodies from making decisions and acting.
Can I sue you after they're no longer in office?
No. No, you can't.
So I have no recourse?
You have no recourse. No, they would be
That's
acting.
why we want to need due diligence, guys.
Well,
Right now, I'm trusting what you say, do the math of what you're saying, and then yes, put it to the electric, and we'll make a decision.
Better get their study, because it will come to the voters, the taxpayers.
Yeah, we're saying pay for the study, just like we're saying spend $250 to go get more bids on stupid windows at Whispering Oaks. Yes, pay for the study, get a full page ad in the Northwest Herald saying this is what the cost savings could be, and then now we have the information. That's all I'm asking.
Okay, is there any other comments?
I want to just say thank you also for listening to the community, but I really want to say to the community how awesome it is to see so many people show up today and make your voices heard, maybe be slightly obnoxious. It made an impact, and I'm proud to be part of it. And I want to say a huge thank you to these guys that all walked in these yellow coats, who made sure we all got safe here tonight, and we'll get home too. You guys are awesome.
Gentleman in the hat there.
Yeah, I don't want to beat the dead horse here, but a lot of these gentlemen said the same thing. But number one, remember who you serve, and you guys ran for office, serve the public. Number one, get the facts, educate the people. Don't just come in, you know, my God, so many times I remember back in the 70s with that gentleman there, but holy cow. Let's get the facts together. Stop taking services away from our people. I got so many elderly people in my area, Mchenry 21. My God, you know, what would they do? You know, if, you know, a new plow service comes through and they got nobody to call. Now we got to find a policeman, the new guys, instead of we got one guy right there, and the blame is on his shoulders if it doesn't get done. So let's, accountability to all of us, being our representatives.
And all of us would be the 38,000 people in the township, not allowed the friends, family, and workers that are here. Is that what you mean? Oh, you're pretty good guy.
Mr. Cunningham, you're making assumptions and I don't appreciate it. All right.
I would like to make one comment.
Mr.
I just want to say happy birthday to our head mechanic. I believe he turns 30 in what, 3 hours? Happy birthday.
Thank you. Let's wrap this meeting up if I hear no other comments. Okay, gentlemen, I just 2 things I want to call to your attention, or actually 3 things, trustees. On January 27th, and the people here, we're having a blood drive with the Mchenry Township Fire Protection District here. at the township in this hall from 9 to 2 p.m. There's a very big blood shortage right now due to the cold weather. People weren't coming out, so we appreciate if you can come give. We're kind of having a competition with the fire department to see if we can get more people out. It's kind of a friendly thing. The other thing is, as we all unfortunately hear in the news about sexual harassment and things of that nature, we are having sexual harassment training here in Mchenry Township right now. If you are available, trustees, Wednesday at 3 p.m. we will have another training. If you can't make that one, we will find another one for you to make. But we will be passing a new sexual harassment policy. At our next meeting, we'll be coming before you. That is, the state has requested that we pass. So due to all this that you see in the news today. So if you can make at 3 o'clock on Wednesday, we will be having training. All right. With that, can I have a motion to adjourn?
I'll second that motion.
Who was the first? I never heard.
I'll make the motion.
Mr. Wojcicki makes the motion. Seconded by Mr. Cunningham. All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Any nays? None heard, meeting adjourned.
Once again, thank you, sir. Well said.
I think you're important where you are, but you'll be bigger.
that's